I think parity sucks in the NBA. I think parity is for losers.
Softman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980, where you see we are joined once again by Zach Harper of The Athletic. We are joined by Zach Harper of The Athletic because I saw an Instagram video from you the other day, Zach, where you were trying to fix the NBA's draft lottery.
Yeah.
And that seemed relevant to the Washington Wizards fans in our audience.
Sure. Yeah.
And so the headline of this segment is, can we fix the NBA draft lottery in less than 30 minutes? You think we can do it, Zach?
Absolutely. I think it's a super easy fix.
All right. Well, let's start there then. What is your fix? And then we can go in reverse and talk about the problems. But let's talk about solutions first, since you already have them.
Yeah. I unweigh the lottery. That's all you need to do. Just unweigh the lottery. You miss the playoffs, you got a 1 in 14 chance. I don't think there are any real problems in this, like actual problems. There are theories, there are hypotheticals, but I don't understand why this went away. This used to be the system, and then we started having to like hold franchises' hands to make them better and everything. Like, I just think we can be realists. Like, let's just unweigh the lottery. You miss the playoffs, 1 in 14.
Okay, done. All right, we did it. Everybody, that's Zach Harper.
That's it. All right,
we'll be right back.
For having me. Yeah.
No, so let's talk through why we got here, which is essentially that in American sports, we believe in this competitive balance thing.
Right.
In the country that screams about how we shouldn't give out participation trophies, we have the best competitive balance thing, rules in the world. I will say it makes the NFL great. Like, I don't actually think competitive balance rules are bad. It's a league in the NFL that's designed to go 8-8, and every single year, unless you have one of the best quarterbacks or terrible injuries, most teams finish right around there.
Yeah.
The NBA tries this. It's so hard because there's 5 dudes on the floor per team at once, and if one of them is, say, LeBron James, that team's just going to win a lot more. And thus, you have this world where everyone is trying to get their own LeBron James, their own Steph Curry, their own Victor Wembanyama, and I guess it starts with the fact that we think the teams that are farthest away, the teams that finish worst, deserve the best chance at that. Why do you think that is a stupid idea?
I think parity sucks in the NBA. I think parity is for losers. Like, I think it works in the NFL. Like, I'm with you. Like, I think competitive balance in the NFL works. I think it's a smart idea. I think it drives that league because of the way the system is, the way the schedule is, the amount of games. I think it is really smart. 82 games in basketball, a bunch of 41 and 41 teams is not good. It's historically not good for business. We see the league thrive at its best when there are dynasties to topple. We love watching a dynasty get built, and then we love watching it get torn down. Like, that is just historically the Celtics, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Bulls, the Lakers, the Spurs, the Warriors. Like, this is when the league is at its best historically. Everyone pines for, how great the 80s and 90s were when it was the Celtics and Lakers and the Bulls doing their thing. And then we cry about, oh, the Warriors are too good and they've broken basketball. Like, what do you want? Like, it's so stupid to me that we have forgotten what makes the NBA great. And so when we get into this whole participation trophy thing with trying to help teams, like, that, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard to build. You should hire competent people. You should run your team. Like, I know that, like, look, it's not my money, it's not my team, but I truly believe like the owner's job is to sign the check. Hire the basketball people to do the basketball things and sign the checks. You want a perfect example of it? Look at Sacramento. Vivek Ranadive keeps interfering every year and a half, firing a coach like every year and a half to 2 years, and that team has had like one good year in 18 years. And they are like, we thought they were no longer a joke, and look at where they are again. They're a joke again. Like, not as bad as they were, but no one's going to take them seriously as they keep cycling through. And we've got these franchises that keep going through this. The owner's job is to sign the checks, let the basketball people do the basketball stuff. And it's supposed to be hard. Like, I don't think you should get extra points because you decided to lose more games. And if we're saying the last month and a half to 2 months of a season are unwatchable and things that fans should not pay to go see because the product is so bad, then why are we incentivizing that? Like, that's my issue with it is, okay, then we need to find a way to eliminate it, and it doesn't need to be complicated.
I will take it an even step further. Zach Harper from The Athletic is with us here on the Hoffman Show. The line of the social video that I saw from you that I enjoyed the most was basically like, but what about the bad teams? And I can't say exactly what you said because that was a social video and this is the radio.
Yeah.
But the radio version is screw them.
Yeah.
And I actually think it actually is more than just screw them. Or in some ways it's less than that. I think what the current system does is invites the kind of mediocrity that we're trying to avoid.
Absolutely.
That if you get one good player, and this is why I very much actually appreciate, I know the Wizards nationally are still seen as a laughingstock. I believe in what they're doing. Not saying it's going to work. Those are two different things because there's luck involved, which gets us back to this whole silly lottery system in the first place. But like the Wizards are trying to make sure they don't win too many games while also trying to find really young players that can play because they need talent. They're trying to develop them. And they understand, like, if we're not bad, like really bad record-wise for multiple years, we're not going to accumulate the enough talent to be good.
Right.
Oklahoma City was able to do that via trades with getting Shea. They obviously are bad for a couple of years. They get Chet. And it's like, and they hit a couple of those, 7, 8 level picks, multiple guys named Jalen Williams, and all of a sudden they've got a juggernaut.
Yeah.
And what happens to a lot of teams is they get one guy and then they get stuck in the middle because they're too good to be bad enough to get more good talent. And I actually think either unweighting the lottery, or you even proposed, I think, in there, reverse weighting the lottery. I've thought about, like, what if you had a pyramid system where like the worst team or the worst place to be is 8th. So if you're getting bad near the end, you can either try to go up and make the playoffs, and if you miss, oh well, okay, we have a soft landing, or okay, we'll tank it because all our dudes are hurt, and maybe we'll play a bunch of G League guys anyway, and that's already happening, but it's less teams doing that. But that if you incentivize, can we get to that point where we're on the verge of being good? That is in many ways the worst place to be in the NBA. But if we can incentivize teams to go on the ascent and go on the journey, I think that is actually the better way to avoid the problem with the dynasty here, dynasty there bit is the dynasties always wind up in like 3 cities.
Sure.
And I think the NBA and the league office would be like, we need to give every fan base hope that they can be good. I think unweighting the lottery or reverse weighting the lottery or some kind of incentive to actually aim towards the playoffs is the way to do that, not the current system.
Yeah, the current system is garbage. Like, because you get into the situation where, all right, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Of course, teams are going to lose. Look at him.
Yeah,
like it's a 7'5" guy who handles the ball like a guard. Like, of course you're going to lose his. I was advocating, like, you should tank for this guy. I thought Utah not tanking for them was the dumb. Like, great. Good luck with your pride.
Make up for it this year.
Good luck with your pride. Congratulations. You're idiots. Like, that's so dumb. Like, and I'm with you. Like, I've made a lot of Wizards jokes over the years. Like, a lot of Wizards jokes. This year, I was legitimately, I think people thought I was being tongue in cheek. I legitimately enjoyed them. Like, a lot of young guys. It took Sarr a little bit to get going, but him, Bub, Keyshawn George, throwing even like
bringing AJ Johnson in the middle of the year,
bringing AJ Johnson in, even Kispert to a certain degree.
Freaking like Champagnie goes from a G League guy who's doing 20 and 14 every other night. Like,
great.
What are you doing?
I mean, Shaedon Sharp did murder him with a dunk, but like before that, like he did really well. I was a big Coulibaly guy. Like, he was one of my favorite prospects in that draft because as I was scouting Wemby, I would like all these highlights of like, this Coulibaly guy can play. Like, he's pretty good. And so like there's a way to play the young guys that is development, right? And I thought they did a great job of doing that. And yes, there were blowouts, but there were also some really competitive moments. I'm for that. I'm not for just throwing out crap and saying, well, we got to get these losses. We got to get to that 14% chance of getting the number 1 pick. And so whatever takes away that incentive to keep putting a bad product on the floor, you can lose games. That's fine. There's going to be bad teams. That's fine. It's about making a good product. We are still putting on a show. This is still entertainment. Like, you're still charging fans, ticket prices and concessions. Like, did Utah take away? Like, did they put tickets on sale at a discount? No, those ticket prices are still the ticket prices. Like, that was a horrible, embarrassing product to the point where Will Hardy, the coach, was basically revolting against his own team in press conferences towards the end. Like, if we're going to complain about the product all year round, which I found to be ridiculous anyways, we're complaining about ratings and 3-pointers and all this stuff. like, are you watching what's on the floor? Like, this was a great year of basketball until like 8 teams at the end put bad products on the floor for the last 2 months. So I think it's just a simple way of taking it away. And I do think there are cities set up to build dynasties with. Like, yes, you've had the Lakers, and when Michael Jordan was around, you had the Bulls. So, and outside of him being around, that franchise has been garbage, like pretty much every other year, aside from like a couple Derrick Rose years. But yes, the Lakers and the Celtics, and like you do have these cities, but also like you had San Antonio for 15 years be a title contender, right? The Thunder are set up in Oklahoma City to be great for, probably 10 to 15 years, assuming they can keep this thing together. You have teams able to build in this new collective bargaining agreement for a certain amount of time. It never lasts as long as we think it's going to. But I do think you can build things in these other cities. I don't think it takes putting a horrendous product on the floor at the end of the season to do it.
I think that also as the game becomes more international, that's going to happen as well, because
Absolutely.
a guy like Giannis is just like, I'm happy to be in America, not hiding in Greece, where my family is constantly being afraid of being deported. If you watch like the documentary on him that came out last year, like that was a real reality for him, or the Disney movie version, either one. Like he doesn't care. He's in Milwaukee. He's psyched to be in the NBA. It's ironic that Luka wound up with the Lakers, but he was perfectly happy in Dallas.
Yeah.
In fact, we know he was very sad to leave.
He was
Dallas.
bummed. He was like very emotional. Yeah.
And so I think that now that we have these international guys as the best players in the sport, and even like some of the best young American players, like Ja's become a more complicated figure, but like I don't think he's looking to run out of Memphis as soon as he possibly can.
Anthony Edwards wants to be in Minneapolis. Like,
yeah. Like there are dudes now that are just like, yeah, I can build it anywhere. I care about having a good organization. I care, and that's I from talking to the Wizards and listening to what they're doing, like that's what they're trying to do. Like we want to treat people really well. And Will Dawkins talked about this at his presser yesterday, where they had conversations with guys like Chris Middleton and Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart. And they're like, how can we make your time here? It's not like, hey, we're going to keep you forever. Like we eventually want to, and they'll tell them like straight up, when it's time, we'll flip you to someone who, where you can go try to win at the end of your career.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the agreed upon thing with Kyle Kuzma.
Right.
Was like, hey, man, we want you here as long as you want to be here. And when it's time to go, you tell us and we'll get you out.
And he even last year was like, no, I don't really want to go to Dallas, right? Like he had an opportunity to go to Dallas, kind of.
To an
right?
extent, yeah. There was that story, I think, got a little out over its skis. But if Kyle Kuzma had really, really wanted to go to Dallas last year, there were offers on the table. And I think that the Wizards would have done it, push comes to shove. Right. So 100% they want to make this, and Will referenced a conversation he had with Marcus yesterday in the presser, and he's like, when he got here, we told him our number one goal for you is to help you find your joy again. Things did not go well for him in Memphis in the way that he wanted, the way that Memphis wanted. That happens. It's no one's fault. But now that you're here, how do we get you to enjoy basketball again?
Yeah.
And you see him when Bub Carrington hits that shot in Miami to confuse Wizards fans' emotions as possibly could be,
good or bad,
because of the current lottery rules being what they are. And Marcus Smart's one of the first guys to go dive on Bub at the other end of the floor. And like that stuff is going to matter way more, I think, moving forward. And in some ways, it goes back to Durant. We're like, oh my God, can Kevin Durant build a brand in Oklahoma City? And then he's the second biggest star in the sport. And once that answer was yes, I feel like the cat was out of the bag beyond LA, Miami, et cetera, even if those places, for the same old reasons that they've ever been, are still probably the top destinations for the top superstars.
Yeah. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a Skims sponsorship and a signature shoe and like
AT&T, and he's got Chet with him in the AT&T commercials
that will not stop. It's on whether your TV's on or not. Like it will come through, like it will turn your TV on. Like there's opportunity. Like it's the internet, right? Like it's the digital age. Like that stuff doesn't matter in the same way. Like yes, there's certain climates people want to be in and players want to be in, but for the most part, like you can be a star anywhere. It is about building a culture that players want to be a part of, and it is about building a competitive culture that players want to be a part of. And I think moments like Bub hitting that shot and Marcus Smart making that feel good, the veterans making that feel like, yes, you did something. Like, yes, all this losing was purposeful, but we still celebrate wins. Winning still matters, even in a losing season. Competition's good. Like you need to, like, it was one of the things where early on with Charlotte this year, Charles Lee was trying to make them not Charlotte anymore, and he was trying to create a defensive mind, and like you could see some of the the tenets of what he was trying to establish. I'm like, okay, like maybe they won't be, and then they were Charlotte. Like you just couldn't get it out of them. You couldn't delouse them of
You
being
couldn't
Charlotte.
unhornet the Hornets.
Yeah, you could unhornet the Hornets, but you could at least say like, okay, I see the plan. Like you got to get rid of a lot of these players, but I can see the plan. Washington, even though they were so bad, I see the vision, right? Like I see the vision, and the vision's good. It will just take time, but that's good. Like bringing in Middleton and bringing in Marcus and bringing in Brock. Like you do need those veterans. You saw it in Houston the last couple of years of Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet and Jeff Green of like you have young talent. Granted, that talent was better than where Washington's talent is now, but you have young talent. You need the veterans to help mold that. That's how it works.
Zach Harper from The Athletic with us here on the Hoffman Show. I think that also gets back to kind of the origins of this discussion, right? Of if you are trying to not Cobra effect this, right? Mm-hmm. For those that don't know what the Cobra effect is, basically this is like ancient Egypt or whatever it was. Actually, I have it pulled up. British India back in the day, they had too many cobra snakes, and so they're like, everybody who brings us a cobra head, you get a reward.
Yeah.
And then people started farming cobras so they could chop off their heads, and it actually made the problem worse.
Right.
So if we're not trying to Cobra affect this thing in terms of winning is good, we should incentivize winning. Then this all plays into it, right?
Right.
If you can encourage teams to win more, and that will help their team development, as opposed to just trying to sink to the bottom, I think you can build these better cultures. Because, I think this is a risk that the Wizards have taken well, where they're like, we're going to bring in the right veterans. Mm-hmm. And we're only going to play them so much, especially at the end of the season, because our young guys got a little too good. And if we had played the Washington Wizards, not the Capital City Go-Go, the last 10 games, because Utah was frantically running as fast as they could to the bottom, we would not be where we want to be in the lottery odds. But Houston, same thing. Like, they figured out how to kind of do that. Now all of a sudden they're the 2 seed in the West. Chris Paul being back in Oklahoma City a couple years ago, being a mentor to Shea. Like, it is, if we could do that more, I think that would be great. Is there something beyond, I guess the question for that, Zach, would be, is there something else beyond the lottery being changed that you think could help roster building wise to do that? I have one idea, but I'm curious if you have any others you want to spit out.
I think in theory, like, I'm very against this collective bargaining agreement. Which, I mean, does nothing because it's here, and I don't think they're going to peel back anything that exists. Like, I think that the first and second apron, mostly the second apron penalties, are just so short-sighted and really bad for teams. Penalizing teams for spending money to keep their team together. Like, that's going to hurt the Thunder. We should be celebrating what the Thunder have put together. We should be encouraging, like, hey, you want to spend the money to keep this team? Like, yes, we will tax you, but restricting how they keep teams together is so stupid. It will at some point disperse veterans to other teams, and I think maybe that dispersing of veterans because you can't afford to keep them all together, maybe in theory will put them on the bad teams, kind of like we've seen, in very different ways, but like you see Chris Middleton getting to Washington, like you see some of these veterans getting to other teams, and that will help young players. And I do think like that can maybe be the good effect, the very few good effects of this collective bargaining agreement. But I do think it just ends up being, our teams smart enough to create cultures of competition? In Portland, at a certain point in the middle of the season, fans were really angry at Chauncey Billups for bringing Shaedon Sharpe off the bench because he wasn't playing defense. Like, well, he's so talented. Like, why is he why are you benching him? Like, well, you should be able to prove that you are a starter. I don't think it, like, my first year being a credentialed media member was the Tyreek Evans rookie year, and I was covering the Kings. And I remember fans were very upset that Omri Caspi wasn't starting. He was also a rookie that year. And Francisco Garcia was the starter over him. And Francisco Garcia was a solid veteran wing, right? And my point then was, if you can't prove that you are better than Francisco Garcia and deserve that starting role, then you're not a starter, even for a rebuilding team. And I think earning minutes, even if you're a super talented young player, I think that's the culture. Even these rebuilding teams, even these bad teams like Washington, Utah, Charlotte, you should absolutely have to earn your spot no matter what. And that, I think that instilling that in these teams, and I think you're starting to see that a little bit more as these teams try to get serious, as these bad franchises try to get serious. That's kind of what it takes. It's a veteran presence, and that I don't care what your agent or your contract said, like you've got to earn your minutes.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And, something else that Dawkins said that I thought was interesting, because he was asked about the pick that Washington has next year, which is top 8 protected. And the question, I credit Varun Shankar from the Washington Post for asking it. And he was like, is that going to affect how you play this season? And Will was basically like, we'll probably be playing a lot of young guys. Yeah. But if our young guys are great and we shoot over that, then cool. Yeah. Like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And I actually believe them. If it's close at the end, they'll be playing the Capital City go again to keep that pick, because that is a big deal. Keeping that pick versus having it be 2 seconds the year after to the Knicks for a trade that's like 7 years ago at this point, that I think Tommy Shepard made, but I might even be before that. That's a crazy thing that the Wizards are going to have to deal with. But if you're too good, and especially because you got Cooper Flagg, you're too good.
Yeah.
That definitely changes the equation. The other thing that I would say for me, from a rule standpoint and the money and an idea that I've had for a while, is I think the Supermax is the dumbest thing going in the NBA, because if you are incentivizing, hey, we'll pay you more than everyone else. Okay, cool. They can't offer you the contract, we can. Why would you offer that to some? You are having to bet against yourself. And it's meant to reward players.
Sure.
But why can't we have an exception in the salary cap? Not that we need more exceptions, but just have the Supermax contract count the same as a max contract for another team.
Right.
Because you're basically punishing the team for rewarding the player, which all the agents are like, if you don't give me my guy that contract, then he's going to go somewhere else for less money. It's a very stupid contract.
It should be yes, you pay him the money, but it only counts the same as the other contract against the cap. Yeah. I'm with you. It's funny because I was writing a few weeks ago, I was writing about the all NBA teams. Right. And I was I was trying to decide, is Jaren Jackson Jr. going to make it? And if he makes it, he's going to be eligible for the Supermax. And I kind of wrote as this aside, I'm like, oddly enough, Grizzlies fans should hope he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it's actually better for the building of the franchise if he doesn't get it. And you would think no, I want my guy, I root for him. I've got his jersey. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. I want him to get these accolades, but it's actually better in the long run for the team if he doesn't, which is a crazy way to have to then think about rewarding the player and the team and everything. You're right. It does work against the team, and you should always want your favorite players and your team to get the accolades. It is a very backward concept. And as I'm lucky enough to be a voter, and people have asked me well, you got to factor in the money that these guys can earn. I'm I don't have to factor in anything. I never factor. That's not my fault. I don't that's not my rule. I never factor stuff in with the contracts and stuff, because that shouldn't be on me. So to me, it is just what happened that season, and that's it. I don't factor in anything else outside of that, because that's somebody else's decision.
100%. And again, NBA office, we know you're listening. They're not listening. But if somehow this clip finds you, incentivize winning and incentivize teams being good. That's how your league should run. That's
what a crazy concept.
Again, we could have ended this thing 20 minutes ago and been just fine with that. But that really, there's the details if you need them. Zach Harper, where can folks check out more of your stuff, whether it's the writing, the podcast, etc.?
You can subscribe to The Athletic, which is great. It's well worth the money. If I understand not everybody wants to pay for content, you could subscribe to The Athletic's basketball newsletter, which is free. theathletic.com/thebounce. I write it every day, Monday through Friday. Theathletic.com/thebounce. All of our newsletters are great. So we got it for every sport. We got one called The Pulse that does everything. Check out podcasts, Basketball Illuminati. If you like bad movies, do a bad movie podcast called Cinephobe. Get that wherever you get podcasts.
There you go. Zach Harper. Everybody else can follow him at Talk Hoops on the social medias.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back with probably not more on this, because we've already solved all the NBA's problems next on The Hoffman Show.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's The Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.